Howdy, fellow autotists, and welcome to why I think having a sports car in Austin, Texas, or pretty much any city is kind of a dumb idea. I mean that in the best way possible, as in I'm not trying to be mean, because am I going to change the fact that I have a sports car in a city? No, definitely not, because you can do stuff like that. Here's the thing. Sports cars nowadays are so ahead of the performance curve that you can maybe use 30% of them legally. I'm talking about as a whole, not the Miata in general. That's why I love the Miata, because the Miata is something that you can use a lot of the car in terms of percentage-wise. I would say 80% of the Miata to 100%, and yet you're still not really breaking laws. Whereas if you have something like an E92 M3, like that one over there, beautiful car, yeah, you're able to break laws pretty quickly. My M2, I missed the F87 quite a bit. Just the thing is, it had so much power, like you could blink and you're down looking at 120 miles per hour. But the point is, I'm sitting in traffic right now. And this is a typical day in Austin. Right now it is rush hour. It's peaking at rush hour right now. And I'll tell you this is pretty normal traffic for Austin. I should have got on, but oh well, there's a line. I get anxiety. I don't want to be that person that cuts everyone off. So we'll probably just take the back road. One of the main reasons why I think having a sports car in Austin is that the infrastructure can't really support it. Every single major junction, such as this one here, I'm sitting at I-35, which is notoriously bad, is always packed. There's always a line of people. And no, it's not really because we have accidents. It's just because people just pack in like sardines. And there are a lot of people out there that don't drive coherently or at the speed limit. And they just kind of just sit there and put along like they're NPC drivers. And that's my next thing. Besides the infrastructure that can't support sports cars here, because I don't get to have fun, really. I mean, shit, I'm just sitting here with the manual transmission, stop, go, stop, go, stop, go the whole time. My clutch foot gets a little tired. So that's one thing. And yes, you can have a sports car that's automatic, but it's literally zoom, stop, zoom, stop. That's all you get. The one thing is infrastructure. The next thing that's probably most important, here in Austin, we have some of the most horrendous drivers. And I'm sure you're sitting there saying, oh, well, I've got the most horrendous drivers here. Austin, Texas, there are two different types of extremes. There are the people that I call the road NPCs. Don't you do it. Don't get over. I see your car body language. You want to get over. There are road NPCs that are just kind of there. They're more like roadblocks, and they just kind of sit there. And it's like they don't have urgency to get wherever they want to go. And it's like, dude, what are you doing in life? They're just cruising. Yeah, I get it. They're probably coming back from a long day at work, and you throw on a podcast. You don't really want to go home and get your spouse to complain at you the whole time, or your kids to, jump on you because you're tired. And I get that. But there are a lot of people that don't really pay attention, that are just kind of in the way, and they'll be going under the speed limit. And I personally believe that people that are driving well below the speed limit, which happens often here, are more of a nuisance than people that are driving fast. And I'm not talking about people that do the whole swimming thing and try to cut through traffic and everything. That's a different story. That's on the other end of the spectrum. I'm talking about people that just like driving the speed limit or a little bit over, such as myself. And I'm going to say, I know that this video isn't going to be anything super hype or anything, because you're literally just staring at another car's bumper the whole time, and I'm not really doing much, but I'm just venting a little bit. I want to vent to the world and see what the world thinks and see how the drivers are where you're at. So going back, so one of the spectrum is just people that go really slow. They're just kind of in the way. They don't really pay attention. Sometimes they're on their phone, I should say a lot of times, but there are some times when there are people just there and they end up kind of swerving into your lane, and you're like, you've got to be on your phone. And I'll end up catching up to them just because I like to take a look. I don't like to start anything at all. I'm not a proponent of road rage at all, especially in Texas, because you don't know who's going to have a gun here. But you have the other side of the spectrum where there's people that have that big ultimate energy. And I mean that as in people that are just absolutely unhinged, and they will ride your ass even if you're in dead stop traffic. Like, there's nowhere to go in front of them, and there's clearly no movement of the traffic, but they will still be in your ass, and you can be all the way over in the right lane and they'll still be right up your ass, and you're like, dude, I have nowhere to go. And they're mad at you. They drive like this, the hands are on the wheels, and they drive like this, and they're just, give me the wheel, they're just fuming for no reason. And these people are crazy. I see these people a lot here in Austin, Texas. that have big ultimate energy. And it could be someone in like a Toyota Camry. It's usually somebody, about 99% of the time, somebody that's in a car that does not need to be driving like that, that should be an NPC behind the wheel, but it's not. And they're just flogging that thing to death. It is a mess. They're a mess. The traffic's a mess, and they're still wreaking havoc somehow. And those people you don't want to provoke. And I do like to troll people from time. I'm sure people use their powers for evil sometime, and I mean powers for evil or powers for good, as in people who like to drive and people who actually know something about driving, or some have done some sort of performance driving, whether it be autocross or just reading a book such as Speed Secrets by Ross Bentley, going to the track, or just being in a driving or a car enthusiast in general, using your powers for evil, as I call it, which I do sometimes for trollery purposes, is one of those people that has the big ultimate energy. Sometimes I'll egg them on a little bit, and I've actually made people like that wreck, like not intentionally, like they've tried to follow my line through turns and stuff, and they think that they can just pin it and go, like zero philosophy of physics whatsoever in their brain. And I've actually unfortunately seen somebody like wreck their car really hard going through a corner. I won't talk about that right now because I prefer not to, but these folks are completely dangerous. They're unhinged. You don't want to provoke them because they will do something manic. And those folks right there are also a trouble. So you've got a mix of both the drivers that are absolutely nuts, and you've got a mix of the drivers that are just kind of there, and they're kind of just in the way, and there's nothing you can do about it. Going back to the infrastructure, the roads here in Austin aren't that bad. Of course, my Miata is not lowered. And look, I get to do like a little bit of this right now, and then that's it. And we're back behind all these cars. The infrastructure is not that bad in terms of the roads here. Some roads are bad, but they're not as bad as other places in the world, or Detroit roads or anything like that. So if you have a low car here, it's not too bad. I'm talking about just in terms of the traffic layouts. It's like civil engineers here, when they were designing the city of Austin, took acid and PCP and just started whiteboarding a city, and then like took that whiteboard and were like, yeah, let's go for it. Cool, we've got the funding, let's build the city. And terrible here. You drive to San Antonio, the infrastructure is much better, but you also have crazies out there as well. No matter where you go in Texas, I mean, people are just absolutely nuts, and this could go outside of Texas too. I mean, there are bad drivers everywhere, and that's why I'm saying that having a sports car is kind of dumb daily driving, because you've got these unhinged people, you've got non-unhinged people, NPCs that don't really care. They just see cars and that's it. You know, you could get into an accident, not wishing that upon anybody, but somebody may not be paying attention, or somebody may be unhinged that wrecks or messes your sports car up. And one thing about sports cars is you don't see a whole lot of them out here. Like, I don't really see a whole lot of sports cars unless I'm going to events or meets. You don't see them a whole lot here. So all these other people see sports cars on the road, and it draws attention to you. Some good attention, of course, like this car gets a lot of looks, and you get a lot of unwarranted bad attention too. Somebody just ran a red light. That's exciting. Light's been green for a little bit, and we're eventually going to go at some point in time. I would not be surprised if this car tries to get over this turning lane and cut somebody off. Nope, they didn't do it. Surprising. That happens a lot. I like to push people out, just like, again, trolling. Holy shit. That right there, that Camry like just did a weird turn and almost turned into my lane. So you got to be cognizant of these people. And the way I drive with my sports car is like I'm riding a motorcycle. So got to be aware, checking mirrors all the time, keeping track of who's on the road. Like, look at this, keeping track on who's on the road at all times in terms of how many cars are around you. So counting cars is one skill that you should get. Dude, can you please get in your lane? See, she's paying attention. She was just coming over in my lane. I don't know if y'all saw that, probably not, but she was like on the line coming into my lane. I just had to vent a little bit about it. I was just thinking about how it is kind of stupid to have a sports car day-to-day use. Again, am I going to change it? Nah. Do I wish I had something that I didn't care so much about? Yeah, sure. I mean, if I was driving like a Volvo 240 brick, yeah, dude, like I'm all for that. Somebody cuts me off or comes in my lane, I'm not going to try to avoid them. I'm going to let them just hit me. Like, it's fine. I actually just wanted to film this mainly just to show if there were any bad driving situations happening. Again, there are accidents, but they're actually not that frequent here. It's just the infrastructure can't support all these people here. They're very slow drivers. They're very fast drivers. And when they clash, it's just a mess. Like this guy here, not letting this person over. I'm just going to honk. He was not happy. He was just staring me down like he just wasn't letting this guy over. Like, get over. He had plenty of room. You know, again, I don't do this often. I don't really mess. I'm lying. Yes, I do. I do kind of mess with people. And going back to unhinged people here in Austin, Texas, is if you get into a road rage incident with somebody and there's no way to escape, like let's say they were behind you and they're just like super mad and they're just mad at you because sometimes like whenever you have to get over a lane and they're not letting you over, like you have to like get over and like that lane's closing, they'll still get really pissed off at you and like flash you. I get flashed a lot just by like getting into lanes for no reason, even though there's plenty of space, but they'll speed up to where it makes it seem like you cut them off and they get like super angry. And if you're in a spot to where you really can't get out of it, I recommend just diffusing the situation. Don't feed into it. One time I did have somebody that was like really mad and then they were like riding my ass for like no reason. I pulled off and he got out of the car. He started unbuttoning his shirt and he was like, "You want to go?" He's like, "What's your problem?" And then they basically had to fight me and I had my top down on the Miata. I didn't even unbuckle my seatbelt and I just like sat there, stared at him for a bit and I said, "Hey man, sorry I cut you off back there," which I did not. I was just making him feel good. And I said, "I don't feel like going to jail today." And the guy just like totally froze up and was like, "Oh." And he thought about it. I saw him think about it and he's like, "Yeah, me neither." I go, "Well, cool, man. Sorry if I offended you driving. Have a good night." And he was like, "All right." I try to succumb to whatever they're trying to get at. Basically like I'm the asshole in the situation and I apologize just to diffuse them and say I'm in the wrong, even though most of the time I'm not in the wrong. Yeah, if I screwed up, I'll admit, yeah, I screwed up. But most of the time I still say I screwed up and it's all good. I'm sorry. Because people that feed into that road rage, again, these people don't care sometimes and they will pull out a blicky on you or something. I've had a gun pulled on me one time, again, in my Miata with the top down. I was just cruising home and this kid was turning into my lane because it was one left turn and he did that thing to where they middle lane, they try to get in front of you and I was just minding my own lane and holding it. Finally I let him over. I like look at him like, "Dude, what the hell?" And he pulls out a gun and just brandishes at me and I'm just like, all right, whatever. Kept driving. He turned off. Nothing happened out of that, but it's like, come on, dude, you can't do that. But going back to using your powers for good, here's my thought process. May not be the best, but use your powers for good. Somebody is raging at you and you can get away, then what I would do and speed, or nice red light run, speed a bit, get the hell out of Dodge. Like start driving aggressively, take turns fast, use your powers for good, braking zones, all that. Try to get away from that person because I'll tell you this, if you're trying to get away from somebody unhinged that has that big energy that just wants nothing but that smoke and you don't, get away from them. And if something happens to where police see you and they're just chilling, they see you speeding or whatever, hey, you know what? You might have to own up to that ticket. Sorry, but also you can say, "Thank goodness, officer. There was somebody that was like totally off the rockers. I'm sorry for speeding, but I was trying to get away from them because I was fearing for my life and my safety." I don't know how that's going to go down. Luckily, I've never had to use that, but that's one thing in terms of something I keep at the front of my mind in case that ever happens. So that's a card I have in my pocket in case something like that ever happens. Wow, that card just got cut off hardcore. I just wanted to rant for a little bit, again, on my thoughts of I think owning a sports car is kind of dumb in a highly populous area or a place with an infrastructure that can't support it or a place with really crazy unhinged drivers. What do y'all think? Tell me in the comments, have you ever been in a situation? I like to hear stories, so if you share the same sentiment or not, let me know. But other than that, thanks for getting this far. Stay sharp out there. Try to use your powers for good. A little bit of trollery never hurt nobody in my book. Till next time, bye!
Be sure to like and subscribe.